everyone and welcome back. We are going to do a quick video on how to save Echinacea seeds. It's super easy, and Echinacea is one variety from my garden that is a must-have save. I started off with only a handful of plants I purchased at a local nursery, and I wanted to learn how to save them because I absolutely loved the vibrant pinks and reds and oranges that were growing in my backyard. And hi, if you're new here, my name is Kristy. I am located in Massachusetts, Zone 6A. We are nearing our first expected frost date, and a lot of my Echinacea plants are starting to die back. So it's the perfect time to go in and clip some so we can save some seeds. And these are actually ones that I had a lot of success with seed swapping, and then also starting a ton for my backyard. So a few things that I like to use are a paper plate, which I feel like is a must-have for going and separating the seeds. I actually like to repurpose this coffee tin right here. It's super helpful with separating the seeds because they are so prickly. I will just chuck a bunch in here. I add a few nuts and bolts or maybe a nail or some screws, and I give it some really good shakes. A rock works really good as well, which is probably what I'll be using today. And then I'll just have my clippers, and then I usually put them in a paper bag while I'm harvesting. I just grabbed a Ziploc bag, or I can just put them on the paper plate, whatever works for you. So let's go over to the garden and find some Echinacea seeds to save. So around my garden, I wanted to make a little pollinator strip to help bring all those bees and beneficial insects into my vegetable garden. So I have some of my second year Echinacea right here. Like I said, I purchased from, I think it was either Home Depot or Smithlands last year, and they grew back phenomenal. So I have a powwow berry. I have a couple of like summer blends, but I try keeping to the pinks, oranges, and yellow tones. I didn't want any of the white and like the purple that you normally see. I wanted those bright colors. So as you can see, they are dying back, and I like to take the ones where they are like completely died back. You can actually see some of the seeds, and yes, they are good to save for like the wildlife, like the birds would like to eat them, but I've been giving them my sunflower seeds up there because I really want to save these Echinacea seeds. So it's super simple. I'm going to bring you in closer after this one to show you which ones I'm looking for and why I'm choosing those, and then I'll show you how I separate them. But all I'm going to do is just cut it back, and you want ones that look nice and toasty like this. It basically looks like a burnt marshmallow, and you can hopefully see all of the little brown seeds, but I'm going to show you how I separate them because you're going to need all of them. So we're just going to add this to our bag, and we're going to keep going. And you can actually already see some of the seeds down here. I don't know if you can see them in the bag or not, but some of them are already separating. So that is good news that we are getting it at the right time. I would also like to mention that I am not separating these by variety. I am just mixing any of my Echinacea seeds, but if you wanted to, you can definitely go ahead. I don't have these labeled. Maybe next year I'll think about it by separating them by the different color types, but I am just coming in. And also one thing to look for, there's a lot of little critters that like to hide in these. So there is a spider in here. I don't know if you can see it or not. Just make sure you flick them off because I don't know if you want to have any surprises when you are harvesting, but this is a good one too. All right, here is a prime example of one that we want to save. You can actually see some of the seeds on top. They are popping out. So we are going to be harvesting as many as we can. So I have one right here. I will also be grabbing this one behind it. It doesn't want to focus. There we go. And then I do have several more on this one. So we're just going to keep going around. Like I'll grab this one as well. I'm going to grab this one right here. And I will cut all these back in probably a few weeks or so. But I don't know if you can see, this will want to focus, but all of the little seeds are starting to pop. So this is what we want to get. And since it's so prickly, this is why I use the coffee container to help shake these loose. All right, we have 2 bags full of our dried up Echinacea, and I'm going to show you how we save the seeds. So it's super simple. Again, I just take a coffee can, That way I can give it a really good shake. And I just found some little rocks from my vegetable garden. I usually would just use like some screws, nuts or bolts, anything that you have that's a little bit heavier. Just by shaking them in the bag, some did come loose, but a lot of them, you're gonna need something to tumble them in. So I am just going to take my coffee can and put everything in there, put both bags in. And like I said, I am not separating these by variety. I am just putting all of my Echinacea in here at once. I will add my rocks. And again, and the rocks are just gonna help add as like a little tumbling feature to help loosen and shake off the Echinacea. So let's give it a nice little shake. All right, simple as that, right? You might have to do it another time or two, but it just depends on how many seeds you want to save, if you want everything. But I am just going to dump everything out. And then there's a ton. I'm going to just take these larger pieces. I'll give them a good shake after, just to make sure none of the seeds fall off. I will just put it right on the cap, because just moving them, I can see more seeds are falling. Oh, there's a I'm sorry. I said I hope there's no critters, and there's a little moth. I'm sorry. That must have not been fun. Here, go on here. There we go. I have had spiders come off, and that is never fun. But let's see. But this is what it will look like basically before, and then if you give it a really good shake, you'll get a lot off. But you can still see some are stuck inside. So we're gonna just take the bigger pieces. And there are so many, and I didn't clip that much. Let's see, actually I might just put them in here because I'm running out of space. All right, and then I'll put the rocks, and then I'm gonna show you what you are looking for when you're separating. Now, normally I would just leave it on the paper plate, and I would just leave it there for a while, a few weeks sometimes, basically when I actually have some downtime, which can be maybe not until end of October, November, or if I just have like a good night or a morning where I'm not super busy, it will be time to separate these, because look at how many there are. So let me show you what you are looking for. So the part that is the seed are going to be these little, I don't even know if you can see that good. These little beige seeds is what you are going to use for your saving your seeds. And you can tell if they're viable, because if you give it like a little squish, it will be firm. Sometimes you might squish it and you will just flatten it like a pancake, and that will not be viable. But here is the seeds that you are looking for. And I also use a sifter, so this is kind of like my next little extra step. So we have our sifter, again, super helpful. I'm just gonna place it right on top, and let's see if I can get it to stay. And I'm just going to bend this slightly, and then let's see what we can do. Oh, look, there's a nice little spider in there. But it's going to help separate these smaller pieces. And then you'll only have to just pick off these like little petals that were still on. So that's super helpful, I find. I was able to get most of the smaller pieces and the petals off. So now I'm just gonna take a second plate and shake everything out. And again, off of Amazon, I think it was like $7 or $8. And this is what we have left. So all these little brown speckles you see, those are all Echinacea seeds. So last year was my first year growing ones that I saved myself, compared to just buying seeds off of like online. And I found that I had two really good results. So I started a lot of them indoors under grow lights in December. And those plants were huge by the time I was able to plant them in probably like end of April. So I did plant mine out before my last expected frost date. I moved them into the greenhouse earlier, and the ones I started in December and potted up did so well and were flowering this year compared to the ones that I did my winter sowing. So these are also really good for winter sowing, but they are just either starting to put off one flower, and it is now mid-September. They're just gonna put on a single flower. So I probably will start more indoors come December, pot them up, and then I left them in my greenhouse sometime in April, I would say, probably like late March, early April. And they did phenomenal. They're blooming, they're huge. I planted a bunch of them at the school and they look fantastic. They're lush and green and just gorgeous. So this is what they look like right now, and I probably will actually leave them like this for a few weeks or even a month. They're totally fine like this. I just put it in a nice, dry, cool place. If you want, you can just put it in the bag, and then I will sift through this later, and then I'll use those nice little seed envelopes that I have, and I'll just label it as 2025 coneflower and just write mixed variety, so I know that it's not one specific color. And these are fantastic for seed swapping. You can give 10 to 15 seeds if you would like, and swap and get some new varieties, because as you saw, like, I still have so many I can harvest from. And look how many seeds I have just from probably like less than 20, I would say, heads. So I am thrilled. I will probably just right now put it in a plastic bag because I do see some spiders crawling around and I don't want them in my bedroom. But yeah, simple as that. We did it in like a couple of minutes. All right, and that is as simple as that. I can actually just go ahead. I still have a lot of seeds on these. If it looks like this, you want it to look like this at the end. So all I have to do is just put it back in here, put the lid on, give it some more shakes, and then again, filter it through here, pick them out, and you can do it until they're all basically gone. And you'll get so many seeds, like hundreds of seeds. It's amazing. So I hope you found this helpful. I plan on doing some more quick videos on how to save seeds, such as like my Mexican sunflower that will be coming up next, and marigolds. Those are super simple. So we'll start with the easier ones, but Echinacea is an amazing perennial to have. It's just gonna get bigger and bigger every year, and then you can start dividing it and moving it around your garden. Beautiful colors, and then also if you are doing cut flowers, fills in a little bit of that gap, and it's just super reliable, and I love the colors that I picked out. So if you'd like to stay tuned and see more, and we'll be doing seeds starting before you know it, go ahead and click like and subscribe and hit that bell button, and I'll see you all next time. Happy gardening. Bye.